Hi, it is nice to meet you on the path. Today's episode is about becoming a magnet for what you want to attract. And also, you know how the magnet works. It has one side it'll attract, and the other side will repel. So, what brought this to my attention, besides the obvious how actual magnets work, is about a little over 7 years ago. And I've told this story on the show a bunch of times, but I got to know this. I think she was really an angel or a bodhisattva or something like that. I knew her for maybe a few months or so, 4 months, 3 months, I don't know. I met her when I was driving a cab, and just a quick recap since I covered in other shows is I used to drink, almost every day, usually not a lot per day, like maybe a beer or two, but sometimes more. Sometimes I'd get some whiskey and, uh, drink more than that. And I was smoking weed almost every day. I wasn't really telling people too much about that, but people that I hung out with more knew, I guess. But anyways, I kept like thinking it'd be good for me to quit. It wasn't doing me any favors. It wasn't like it was giving me a lot of problems, I don't think, but it wasn't doing me any favors. And I kept reading in these different books, whether it's yoga book and like this qigong book in particular. He was the guy that wrote it. He was a qigong master, and he said that his teacher told him, you can keep going on as you are. You're already a master, but if you want to get to the highest level you have to quit drinking, period. And so he did. And so I'm reading about all of this stuff, and I meet this woman, angel, bodhisattva, whatever she was. And it's really hard to explain. I've told the story a bunch of times now, and I'm never quite satisfied with how I tell it. I'm not trying to exaggerate. I'm not trying to I'm not lying, as in I'm not saying I think she was something like that, and I don't really believe it. Uh, it she was like something different, something like she seemed to have like this perfect spiritual perfection, and it's really hard. It's really, really, really hard to explain. But she never preached to me or anything like that. So what I call is her like Earth story. It's like there's this show, Touched by an Angel. If you haven't seen it, it's I like it. It's a pretty good show. But basically, some guy or somebody in some town somewhere has this issue that they're trying to get through. The angels show up. So maybe the angel is working as a waitress. Maybe the angel is whatever. She's somehow needs to pop into this person's life to help them turn the dial to a different channel, start living a different way, getting rid of whatever it is they need to get rid of. And that's what happened to me. So after seeing her, I was taking her to work. This is like part of her Earth story, as I say. I was taking her to and from work almost every day, Monday through Friday. And this went on for a few months. I don't know exactly how long. And then the last day I saw her, she was walking back up to her apartment. Sometimes we would sit in the car, in the cab, and just talk for like 20 minutes. One time it was like summertime, and another part of her Earth story is she was from India, and um, she, like, it didn't matter what the temperature was outside. She wanted the windows up. It was the summertime. It was July 3rd of 7 years ago, the last time I saw her. Hot, hot, hot Indiana, 90 some degrees outside. And so we're in the car, the windows are up, and she didn't want the air conditioner on. That seems to be kind of like an Indian thing too, because other Indian people that I picked up, uh, they were the same way. They windows up, air conditioner off, not even the fan. It was something. But she didn't seem like she was just like from India. So it wasn't like I'm saying, oh, this exotic person from India. Like I've never met anybody from India before. She was different. But anyways, so we're at her apartment. The windows are up, and I'm sweating. I'm just pouring sweat. But I was never in any hurry to get her out of the car. And we were talking for probably like 20 minutes or so. And she gets out, and it's summertime, but it was like this cold rush of air blows in, this cold rush of 95-degree air or whatever it was, comes in, and I'm like pouring sweat. She didn't have a single drop of sweat on her, not even a little bit. So, and when I saw her like walking away, it's really hard to explain, but it was like I was able to see my potential, I guess. Not that it was really her. That part of it is even more complicated that I can never get the words to explain it right. But anyways, and like the message that I got without her ever telling me. So even though we would always have these, like, everything was like this, like really cool spiritual conversation, but she was never preachy. She never like told me what to do or anything. She was just like this perfect being of some sort. But the message that I got was, and that she never said exactly, was you have to become a magnet for what you want to attract. I just realized my computer's not turned, or it's not plugged in. I'm going to hit pause for a second. Okay. So the message I got was you have to make yourself a magnet for what you want to attract. And that night, last time I saw her, which I didn't know was going to be the last time, I went home and I had my last beer, didn't even finish it. And I had a half a joint left, and I finished it. And I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I knocked the beer over on the floor, and it smelled like a million rotten beers. It was so exaggerated. It was so disgusting. Um, it, it was just, it was so nasty. And I never drank again. I never heard from her again either. I saw her pretty much every day, a lot of times twice a day, Monday through Friday, for months. And it was just like after that change, just like this, like in the show Touched by an Angel, well, they're on to the next. They're on to the next thing. So I had wondered, what that was all about. Sorry, my phone's starting to beep here. And so, like, well, I said, I'm not exaggerating. Was she really an angel or a bodhisattva? I can't say for sure. I don't know. But it was very, very strange. So I'm not trying to exaggerate. But what she actually was, I can't really say for sure. But, and so I haven't drank, smoked anything since, nothing. But So becoming a magnet for what you want to attract, and then the other side of the magnet is repelling what you don't want. So there were some friends who I haven't hung out with since then. And there's been a couple times, or probably more than a couple, where I've kind of decided to part way from maybe a group of friends. I was just trying to do something different with myself, and those times were mostly to do with like I didn't want to be like drinking and stuff, and um, but like the last time for like 7 years ago, there's been times I invited those friends over. They used to come over and lift weights and do martial arts, and we'd have a drink and a smoke and have fun, and there's some of it hasn't happened since, and whatever. So on to the next page. So now I think about my friends now, and they're awesome. I have all kinds of just badass friends. A lot of them are teachers of various sorts, whether it's martial arts teachers, um, personal trainers. All of them are which are like more than just like the cookie cutter personal trainer type. They have their own businesses. They have uh, their own thing going. They're not trying to be like anybody else. They are into their own thing, and they're open-minded, and they collaborate with others. And I look at the people that want to do business with me now. Like, this is really cool. Um, it's really amazing. They're uh, like, for instance, we have this. I don't want to unveil too much, partly because of these other subjects that I'm talking about. But let's see. Well, so I have this major program that I'm developing with a few of my awesome friends, and it's going to be martial arts, natural object lifting like stones and logs, and um, carrying. Uh, it's a whole thing. I don't want to get too into it, but I've had 4 meetings about it. I had one-on-ones with each of the instructors, and one of us all together. And it's not just mine. I'm not the one exactly running the show, but we're all doing this thing. So of all those meetings, no one mentioned money. We're talking for like each of them lasted over an hour. Nobody brought up money. It's all, what can we do? How can we make this thing awesome? It doesn't start with, we need to make some money. How are we going to make some money? We're creating this awesome experience for people. It could make us a good amount of money. Maybe not. Maybe it'll take years to develop. It will almost certainly take years to get it to where we want it to be, and several months of planning just to even get it started. It's going to be amazing. But none of these guys, there's 4 of us, nobody mentioned money. Now I look back, and I can't help but like think about relationships and stuff. And, so it's like with my friends or girlfriends that I've had, and I've been single for a while now, and I had a date. Let's see, it must have been Monday. So today's Friday. It's about 9 o'clock at night, I think. And big party me is it's 8:26 p.m. Friday, October 4th. So, anyways, I had a date Tuesday, Monday, like 5 days ago, and I met her on Bumble. It's this dating site that I'm on it, but it's like, I don't know. And so we meet for some Thai food, and like I get there first. I'm there 15 minutes early, which is, whatever. She's like 10 minutes late. Like, okay. That kind of drives me bonkers a little bit. Not that I've never been late myself, but anyways. So, and then like, how much I want to say here. I often say very personal things and maybe even too much about other people, but I think I'm pretty good at keeping people's identities a secret if they should be, and hers is. So, like r- right away, I don't really feel any type of attraction, and I could see why other guys would. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with her, but for me, it was like there was nothing immediate, which doesn't always mean anything. I've had things work out pretty well where I wasn't attracted immediately, like where she was attracted more at the beginning, and then as I got to know her more, the more I liked, and then it fades or whatever. So I'm sitting outside. She comes up, and right away I'm not too excited. But anyways, we get to talking, and it's like what was the first thing she started talking about? Um, I don't even remember. But like right away, the conversation's not interesting to me. I mean, it could be to somebody else. So she is an attorney. So she's really smart. She's, um, on everything. Like somebody else might think she's this amazing catch, and I'm sure she is for somebody. But it's like then the like conversation goes just from like one subject to the next, and I'm trying to like kind of like dig into her. Um, who is she really, instead of these like whatever topic she was talking about. Like she was talking about her. I don't want to dwell on that. But anyways, there was no real interest from me, and I was trying to stay open. And we were there for a few hours talking, and she wasn't really into music. She likes movies a lot. I'm not really that into movies. But I'm super into music. And it was just like nothing was quite. We were just not syncing up. I'm not sure what she was thinking. Well, something I thought was cool was, so she knew I was vegan from my profile, and that was the first thing that she asked me was, how long have I been vegan? So uh, something I noticed, I know most people are just listening, but when the show is on YouTube, on the Fitness and Consciousness YouTube channel, but I scratch my nose a lot when I'm when I'm recording for some reason. like my nose, probably because my nose itches a lot when I'm recording. I say like when you're like my grandma used to say, if your nose itches, it means somebody's thinking about you. And so maybe that's true. Because I'm putting these, even though the show doesn't go out live, there's usually a state of unease or something that I kind of get into before I record. It's like how I almost know that I'm ready to record. I start to, like my pre-show ritual is I light some incense. I have some Nag Champa incense going, and I burn some sage. And I walk around and I like loosen up my shoulders and my neck, and I just kind of like get kind of pumped up and ready for it. So then I start like thinking of who I'm going to be talking about and what I'm going to say. And I just hit record and let it go. But anyways, something I thought was cool is, so she knew I was vegan. She said, so I asked her if she was a vegetarian on the Bumble messages, and she said no, her friend is, and that's something. Like, okay. So like part of my struggle is, can I not prefer a woman that's vegetarian or on the vegetarian spectrum, vegetarian, vegan, something like that. Vegetarian is huge. It's a big deal for me. But so she wasn't familiar with Thai food. She only had it a couple times. So she's looking at the menu and she decides to order pad Thai, and she gets it with tofu instead of meat. So I took that as a sign of respect for me, which I thought was pretty cool. But anyways, and like, yeah. So like another thing that, like we get to like talk about like family stuff, and I was talking about my son graduating. Since she's an attorney, a lot of stuff kept coming back to like attorney stuff. And since my son has graduated high school, like, so in Indiana, you pay child support until the kid is 19 years old. And so my son turns 19 in February. It's like 5 months from now. And she's saying that I could just go get him emancipated and not have to keep paying. I'm like, what? Like, no, I don't want to do that. That's not the kind of signal I'm trying to send him. Whether it's I could technically legally do it or not. I don't know. It's weird. But anyways, we're just not on the same page. Not a huge deal. I mean, you meet people, it works out, it doesn't work out, whatever. It usually doesn't, right? I just think of, there's all these people, and so many are lonely. And some of them are in a relationship and they're still lonely. An ex of mine who we haven't talked for a little while, but we've kind of like stayed friends, you could say, like friends that don't hang out. We met for a coffee a few months ago, but it wasn't like a maybe get back together coffee. She was seeing somebody else, and I wouldn't want to go back down that road anyway with her. But we were talking about working on like some projects together, and So even though she was in this relationship with this guy, she said she still felt alone. And I don't think it was her signaling me to try to make things work. I don't think it was that. It was um, whatever. Point was, even when people are with someone, they can still be alone. So it's been a while since I'd been really interested in someone. After the girlfriend that I was just talking about and I broke up, I was seeing somebody else for a while, and then that ended, and I hadn't really been interested in anybody since. But then there was, I have to be really careful about this one. There was someone that popped up, and I find myself interested. And there's various reasons why I'm not trying to do anything about that at the moment. But yeah, I should probably just leave it at that. Now, should I find out that there's a reason to go forward on that, then I will. I'm interested, but I don't know. But it's just interesting, right? What we're attracted to and what we're not. Someone can have like my date from a few days ago. Some other guy might just be crazy about her. And I'm sure there has been. I'm sure there's been a bunch of them. I'm sure she, had all the bells and whistles, you could say. But and she's, smart, good career, all that stuff. And for me, it was just nothing there. Because so when I think about like, well, what do I want? So if you're single, or maybe even if you're in a relationship, what do you want? It's like sometimes in these dating profiles I'm looking at, which I can barely spend more than like a couple minutes, maybe probably not even that long. I'll do a couple swipes and then I'm over it. But sometimes, swipe for maybe a few minutes. I don't know. It's worth a try. Why not? And what was I saying? Oh, so what do you want? So do you have it like defined? You have this checklist for somebody to meet. Are they, whatever checklist you have. What kind of personality are you looking for? Socioeconomic status, maybe. So if I have my list, I guess I'm trying not to have a list. And then when someone pops up, there's not a comparison of her to my ideal. Because these ideals are just like, you make these things up in your head, right? And then you expect that to be the reality, the woman of your dreams or whatever. But maybe that can blind you from really seeing how somebody is. That might be better than you could even think of. But you can't read it, you can't see that if like, oh, she's an inch too short. Oh, her hair is blonde and not brown, or ooh, her hair is too short, or it's too long, or oh, she's, has this job that isn't as, professional as mine or whatever. But can you just look at someone? They say you see people as you are, not as you see. Yeah, you see people as you are, not as they are. So can you just, if you meet someone and you're trying to figure out where this thing can go, how good are you at looking? And just accepting. So like when you see somebody, it's like they're over there, but there's all kinds of like stuff in between, right? That goes through your eyes and into your brain, and your brain processes what you're seeing. And it's a whole thing just looking at somebody, right? It's very complicated. And then to process what they say. So if you're like, well, she's this or that, she's not as hot as my last girlfriend, or she's hotter than my last girlfriend, so this is better, or she's this or that. You might be shortchanging yourself for the most pure experience. Sometimes we look for these signs. We look for some kind of like signal to red light, yellow light, green light. So I'm not sure of the signals that I've gotten so far. So I'm anyways. But part of what I want also, besides like this relationship with someone that uh, to have these things going on professionally, which it just blows my mind where I am, who I'm doing business with, and who's um, asking to do things with me, and who I'm hanging out with. And when I say like doing things with me, I have several friends that have talked to me about going into business together, like owning a gym together or renting space from me. And I don't have a real big space right now, so um, there's probably not really room for another like full-time trainer there. But I had a friend call the other day. He's a really good trainer, and he was kind of getting sick of, more than kind of getting sick of where he's been training. And he said, man, when you're ready to get another place, I'd like to um, work there. And yeah, that's really cool. And so I was trying to weigh out in my mind whether that make that happen or not, because a lot of times trainers, they're not working like constantly throughout the day. So I was wondering if perhaps I could make it work the way things are. I don't know. Um, but I'd like to have a place where when I have a friend of mine that's a great trainer complain about their place, Or I can just say, okay, well, meet me in an hour. I'll give you a key. I want to be able to do that. And maybe that could lead to some problems, but and I'd like to have a place that could be almost like a community center. So you'd have like these awesome trainers of strength and martial arts, and maybe have a place like outside where we can build a fire and people can bring their drums and their guitars and have like a pool table and just an arm wrestling table, which I might be getting. I kind of want an arm wrestling table. I think I'm going to get one that's like not one of the professional ones, but like a free, just like basically a kind of a tall table. That's what I want. For the gym, and just have people over for coffee and tea and lifting stuff and arm wrestling. But anyways, so if that's what I want, how do I attract it? Well, I guess I'm on the right path. But so last show, something that I did this tribute to Robert Hunter, and I was singing, and I don't consider myself a really good singer, but or even a kind of good singer, but I think I have my moments though. I think I have moments, especially if I'm like playing my guitar or maybe I'm harmonizing with the radio or something where I was like, oh, I can do this, or I'll be playing my dad's CDs. And sometimes maybe very delusionally think that I can kind of sing like that too. My dad could really sing. But I had the volume up too loud. And so when I was singing, it didn't record it as good as it could have. So it's kind of a bummer because it was almost 2 hours long, and maybe it's okay. Maybe it did as good as it can. Yeah. So I just turned to this kind of randomly. I didn't have it marked or anything. I was looking over at my books. And so here's a song by Robert Hunter. Called Stella Blue. All the years combine, they melt into a dream. A broken angel sings from a guitar. In the end, there's just a song coming crying like the wind through all the broken dreams and vanished years. Stella Blue. Stella means star, if you didn't know that. It means star, even if you did know that. Anyways, when all the cards are down, there's nothing left to see. There's just pavement left and broken dreams. In the end, there's still that song comes crying like the wind down every lonely street that's ever been. Stella Blue. I've stayed in every blue light cheap hotel. Can't win for trying. Dust off those rusty strings just one more time. Gotta make 'em shine. It all rolls into one, and nothing comes for free. There's nothing you can hold for very long. And when you hear that song come crying like the wind, it seems like all this life was just a dream. Stella Blue. So, I posted about this podcast. I was going to record it yesterday, but kind of got distracted, and I said I wasn't going to sing on it, but we'll see what happens. So yesterday, about attracting what you want. Let's look at these. Let's look at this situation. Okay. So, the point of this part, which I kind of like thought of earlier, is, so the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Okay. Well, I've never read it. I did a show called Zen and the Art of Body Maintenance, which was kind of a play on that. But so, Zen and the Art of Car Maintenance. Here we go. This is off the top of my head, pretty much, or somewhere in the middle of my head. So I have two cars. I have a 91 Jeep Cherokee and I have a 2002 Hyundai XG350. Not trying to brag, but that's what I have. So one of them, my Jeep, I paid $550 for it like 13, 14 years ago. Thing's been a miracle. I love that thing. I get compliments on it regularly. And it's not like I have it all souped up or anything. It is what it is, but from people that like know Jeeps, they know what they're looking at. They get compliments. Even just like yesterday. And so my Hyundai and my Jeep are both giving me a little bit of problems right now. So the Jeep is running, sometimes it's running a little bit hot. I think I need a new radiator. I put a new thermostat on it the other day, and coolant temperature sensor, and I think it just needs a new radiator. I'm pretty sure it's the original. So my Hyundai was a gift. One of my clients was going into a nursing home, and he just gave it to me. And like, it was a super nice gift. And it's, had its problems. I mean, it's it's a 2002. I've done several things to it. And so it wasn't starting all the time. So either it would fire right up, no problem, or I would turn the key and nothing happened. Okay, so I have the Jeep. So if there's a problem, I have two cars. If there's a problem with one, I hop in the other one, and I'm cool. Well, and then the Jeep's like running hot, like messing with me a little bit, so because I don't want to melt the engine. Still have to like get to work, things to do. And so I kind of felt like it was a connection that was the problem for not starting the Hyundai. And so I got out and I'd like mess with the wires coming from the battery that go like to the starter and the stuff. And then, I'd put it in neutral sometimes and it would work, or like some kind of combination of messing with wires and messing with the gears. It would end up starting, and I couldn't figure out which one it was. It could be a bunch of different things, including in the ignition. So as I was trying to like figure it out, and then I would like, if I would tell somebody about it, pretty much everybody said, "Oh, it sounds like the starter." I'm like, well, does it really? I mean, maybe, but usually when I've had starter problems, that's not the way it goes. It would hear like a click, but you might not necessarily hear a click. But anyways, I'm getting to a point here. So I go to AutoZone. I have the battery checked, because at the time it just didn't start, and I got jumped, and it ended up starting. But I don't think it might not have been because of, anyways. So then I'm thinking, okay, maybe I thought my battery was dead. So I go to AutoZone. They said I had a bad battery. I get a new battery. I stop at the store. It starts no problem. I think I'm cool. I go to the gas station. I go to start it, and it doesn't start. 2 stops after I just bought the new battery. Great. Okay. So I'm out there messing with the wires because I'm thinking it's probably a connection. But then I'm talking to like somebody at AutoZone and O'Reilly Auto Parts. And I'm talking to the dealer because I'm looking for starter prices and I'm trying to get the best deal on the starter. Or what it might be if it's I thought it might be a relay. Okay. So I ended up like testing the relay. The relay was not the problem. But it takes like a little while to figure this stuff out, because if it just starts, then you don't know what the problem is. But people kept saying it sounds like the starter, sounds like the starter. So I find at the auto parts store, the starters were just over $200. I found the same one online. I paid like $38 for it. It's the same thing. It's a new starter, same part number, same thing. Fraction of the price. So I'm like, okay, I could do it myself. But like the Honda, it sits so low, even if you can't jack it up very much, or the bumper will hit the ground, and it's kind of hard to get to. And it's like, I don't really want to mess with this. So I took it to this new mechanic I started using. This is the first time I meet him. So he says he'll put it on for $90. And I'm like, okay, fine. I know I could do it myself. I'd be done probably in less than an hour. But I didn't. I didn't want I was just like sick of messing with stuff. So I take it to him, and I was like, I'm not even sure that it is the starter, because I think it might be a connection, but people keep saying it's the starter. So he puts the starter on. I go back, take an Uber home, take an Uber back. And I said, now, did you turn it off and on several times? And he's like, oh, yeah. Because I thought it might have been a connection. He goes, no, it wasn't a connection. The connections were tight on the starter. That wasn't it. Good to go. Cool. So pay up. I go to start my car, and nothing. It doesn't start. It doesn't turn over. No clicking, no nothing. Like, of course. So I go back to him. And he's like, huh, okay. And so like while he's turning the key, I'm pulling on the like wires that are coming from the battery. And I was like, and then it started up. And I was like, I'll show you what I did. And he's like, I don't think it's in there because this, and maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm not a mechanic. I just, I've worked on cars a little bit. So he's like, I think it might be in the ignition. He's like, or maybe it's in this thing where I'm pointing. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm almost certain I'm right where this bad connection is, but I don't know. Like, I don't have the thing to test it out and stuff, or I probably actually do, but I don't have. It's like I don't want to mess with it. I'm sick of messing with it. I just want to pay somebody else to mess with it, because I'm messing with so many other things. And so he's like, well, you can just see how it behaves. Or I was like, well, this is what it was doing before. So I'd rather just leave it. So I take an Uber right back home. So now I'm 3 Uber trips into getting, and I was hoping he'd have my car done today. And I call at 1:00, and so I took it in yesterday, and he said he'd get to it this afternoon, and no call back. So I don't know what kind of news I'm going to get. And the point that I'm getting to is, at what point is enough? Like, I'm not saying this mechanic was doing anything wrong, I brought him a starter and I paid him to put the starter on. I didn't pay him to diagnose a problem. So I'm not saying that he even did anything wrong. I'm not complaining about the mechanic. It's a little frustrating to not know what, get my car back today since I had it there yesterday. But he didn't do anything wrong, as in like a bad diagnosis or something like that. He did exactly what I asked him to, which was put the starter on. Which then I was frustrated that I just didn't do it myself. But then at least it's at a place where he can figure out the rest of it, and I'm driving my Jeep. So, at what point do you hang on? Because this car, and they say you don't look a gift horse in the mouth, right? And I'm certainly not complaining about my very generous client who gave me his car when he was going into the nursing home. It was a very nice gift. I've had a lot of problems with it. I've put more money into that than I have my Jeep, and it has half the miles, and I've had it for a fraction of the time. I've only had it for a couple years, and I've had anyways. So I have some money in this thing. It keeps like, and the last, I've taken it. I couldn't even tell you how many times I've taken it to a mechanic, go to get in my car, and then just have to like keep it there. They say it's all done. No, it's not. And then it ends up costing me more and more money. So at what point do you give up? Because I bought new tires for it. Okay, we'll get new tires for it. They broke two of the bolts, two of the studs that hold the wheel on, and that was a whole thing. But so I couldn't even get it done that day because they're trying to find the bolts, and I had to take an Uber home, which I think they actually paid for because it's this whole ridiculous thing. So I can't even get tires for that car without it being some huge mechanical issue. But then, so then I'm like, then I have like a brake line break, and then, which there's gonna be maintenance over time. But when do you give up? Okay, so if I'm trying to talk not just about my car problems, okay, but how is the car problem, like the relationship with your car, like your relationship with your girlfriend, with your husband, with these other people in your life? Okay. I could buy a brand new Cadillac. Oh, cool. Um, everything's gonna be running real nice, but it could still have a problem, right? Maybe a rock flies off the back of a truck, cracks the windshield. Okay, it could be frustrating if you fix it. Okay. Flat tire. Okay. You have it for a while. Time for new brakes, oil change. Even new cars need maintenance, right? So these relationships that we're in, we get invested. You're like, well, I've put so much time into this person. Is it worth letting go and trying again? Is that somebody else really going to be better? Or after you get to really know them, then you're in the same position. Oh, here we did this like maintenance stuff, at first taking care of it real good, and then get a little complacent, a little too long before the preventative maintenance. and then maybe you find that somebody that you've been married to for 10 years is now really just a roommate, somebody to split the bills with, or somebody to keep you from that stuff that's on your checklist. Because then it's not easy, right? So with my car, I almost bought a new car a couple months ago. Not like a new one, but uh, Chevy. Um, I can't even remember I can't remember. Um, Cobalt. I almost bought it. It was like, it seemed like a pretty decent car, but uh, I decided not to, because I thought that money that I could invest in that, if I just put that into my two cars, I'm going to be better off than if I buy this new one that's going to have problems. That may or may not have been the best idea. I don't know. But I'm not just talking about cars. Are you following me? You get what I'm saying here? So how do you make yourself a magnet for what you want to attract, and then the opposite side of that magnet, repel what you don't want? Now, it's an interesting thing for me because I have all these really great things happening. I have my own gym. I have um, these partnerships with people that I really respect, and um, there's some I guess you could say financial sacrifices that I've made to keep from selling out. And I was talking to my buddy Chris, Chris Adkins. You may have seen, like, trains with me, uh, or he's a trainer at my gym, our gym now. And we were talking about something, and because I didn't really tell anybody I was going out on this date or anything. I mentioned it to a guy at work. He asked me something, and I said, "Well, I'm going." Whatever. But anyways, I was trying to put it together, like, okay, so here's this woman that, like, on paper, well, even in person, is this really great catch, but not really for me, not for me. So maybe another guy might, well, maybe try to hook up with her or something like that, and then leave that behind. But I wasn't trying to do any of that. That's not really my style. I'm not into that. Uh, Well, and so I was drawing the parallels between, like there's these bands, like I have like these bands that I really like, amazing musicians, and I'll look to see how many, like, listens they're getting on Spotify, and maybe their top songs not even it's in the, it's maybe 100,000 or something. Say, great, authentic music, original, and then I'll like stumble upon, there was some other song, I don't even remember what it was that I was brought up, but I looked it up, and it was like over 100 and some million listens, and I'm like, this is not good music. This is like manufactured, formulaic garbage. No, it's not great, but it gets crazy amounts of publicity and airtime but not in my world. Haven't heard of this song before, but apparently it's huge. So because of the type of training that I do, I'm trying to tie all these pieces together now, if I can. Maybe you're already getting the drift here. With these bands, there's the bands that sell out. They're bands that are put together by the record companies. We'll put you with you. Here's the hot chick, and we'll put her with the hot dude, and then lots of auto tune, and neither one of them can really sing, but they have like some kind of dance moves and stuff. So that's cool. Make hit song, make millions. It's garbage. Nobody will care in next year. And then there's this other music that's put out. Maybe it doesn't take off so fast. Maybe this band is just grinding away in the local scene. They don't get any airplay. No, not on the radio, nothing. Amazing guitar player, amazing singer, drummer, bass. They have it all together tight. No airplay. Okay. Little by little, they build their following. And then they make it huge after a long time of paying their dues. But they didn't sell out. They make their albums the way they want to, not because of what some producer says that will sell. They don't do it for the money. They do it for the art. And then hopefully the money comes. But even if not, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years down the line, more and more people are discovering that band, and they like it because it's real. And nobody's going to care about the current hit single, some manufactured song. So as a trainer, I've always been, maybe part of it was like I was ahead of my time when I was, so I was 20 years old when I started as a trainer. That's 1999, 20 years ago. And I was doing stuff that's like catching on more now, but I never wanted to do things other people's way. The last place that I worked when I was 20 or 21 at that time, it was this place where all the trainers worked with all the clients. It was a very successful place. And the owner even said, I don't want to say it's like a factory, but well, anytime somebody says, I don't want to say it's like but it's, yeah, that's what it is. So it was this generic, you go from one machine to the next. All the trainers were supposed to be like these interchangeable parts. And I was the only guy that he ever hired that had experience. He even wanted to control my workouts. And I would write my workouts down. So like he came up with this master plan for me. I'm still writing down my own thing. I don't give a damn what he wants me to do. I might take his advice. I mean, he was strong, in good shape. He had a lot of experience. It wasn't that I didn't want to learn anything more. But if I'm doing dumbbell bench press instead of barbell, especially when I'm by myself, doing a barbell bench press is super dangerous. Don't do it by yourself. Even if you think you got the weight handled, use dumbbells. It's a lot safer. Anyways, I won't get too into that. So I'd write down like dumbbell bench press, blah, blah, blah. And then he'd say, what's this? Why are you doing this? It's like, I told you to use the bar, like, so I wanted to. And I was doing the rep range that I wanted to, not what he was. So part of me having my own mind and not just wanting to be his puppet led to me end up quitting there. It's the whole thing. So it's like, if that's how it is, I would rather make money doing something else. And then I'll do my passion for free. And so that's what I did. I trained like my friends and friends of friends for free at my, in my garage or at my whatever backyard. Are you making? Am I making sense? Are you putting all this together here? So we have. You have to make yourself a magnet for what you want to attract. So there's the woman. So there's this woman I'm on a date with. A lot of guys, I'm sure, would be uh, thrilled to go on a second date and on with her. Not me. It's not her. It's just not happening. Um, the and combine that with the music, doing your own thing with the music. And being in a relationship where you know when to let go and know how to invest wisely. So in your car, right? Now I have this Jeep. I need to put a radiator in it. So if I have just enough money for a radiator, do I want to get some new nice rims for it first? No. But that's what a lot of people I think do in their relationships is this is what it needs, but then they'll put like something shiny on it instead. Oh, she's really mad because I cheated on her. I'll get her some jewelry. I'll get her. What? So every time she looks at that thing, but guys do that. Like, oh, she's mad at me. I'll get her some flowers or something. Is that the associations you want to make? Because these things, like, they build momentum, right? So I think people can pick up on your past and what you've done with it, how you've handled it, and how you're handling your current situations. Like, they'll get a feel. They'll just know somehow that, okay, maybe it takes a little while of talking, and you'll hear them as they tell their story. You'll see what they do with things. Like, she's an attorney, and she tells me that since my son already graduated, I could have him emancipated and not pay child support anymore. What? That is so far from my thinking. So even I have 5 months to go, and to send that kind of message is just like. But anyways, uh, I hope I'm making sense here. So see, a lot of times what I'm doing is there's often not the perfect way to express our feelings, thoughts, and ideas. We don't have, maybe, okay, I could work on my vocabulary. Or maybe I could say, oh, they have a saying in French, oh, blah, 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 blah. Or, you can, or, oh, Gandhi said, or, oh, as Einstein said, or as you're quoting other people, quoting this person, this person. You can sound like, oh, you're so well read. He's quoting Gandhi and he's quoting Einstein. He's quoting all these great philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, and he's quoting Kahlil Gibran, which I might be reading from in just a little bit here. I love Kahlil Gibran. But expressing these thoughts. So like tell you, hey, here's how it is. That'll get you thinking. But what I'm doing is I'm not against reading. I'm pretty sure I've read all of those people's quotes on the air. But uh, when I'm saying these, giving these like stories, so I'll tell like a little story. Well, what do you get from the story? Is it? Did I really want you to learn? Did you really need to learn about my radiator? Is that it? Is that pretty interesting? You're going to be like tuning in. So what happened with the radiator? Getting all these emails. How's that radiator going? Did you get it switched? Did you get an upgrade? So interesting, the radiator. No, who cares about a radiator? The radiator in the story isn't the radiator. Yes, I need to really put a radiator on it. Literally. I'm talking about like the radiator in your life that's not on your car. Maybe if there is one on your car, what's the radiator in your relationship? Right? So what's the radiator do? It keeps the engine from overheating, right? Keeps it hot. Engine will be hot running. It's gonna be hot to the touch, right? It's over 200 degrees. 210, we're good. 230, 40, now we're right. So that's how relationships are too. You got to keep them running warm, and hot's good too, right? But hot is in like the anger. It's not good. Are you following me? Am I making sense? So when I'm going through these stories, I don't have them all written out. I'm not saying things exactly how I plan to say them. This is mostly like stream of consciousness ideas that I kind of had, but I didn't plan them out word by word. The idea is to get you thinking about what you have going on, and what's really going to attract what you want and repel what you don't want. Because if you're in these relationships where like maybe they're arguing a lot, which I've been lucky enough in my past several, really it's been since my son's mom, which was while she was still, well, we broke up and then she told me she was pregnant a month later. So, but her and I used to like argue a lot. We like yell at each other, and now that seems such like a completely different. It seems like call each other names and stuff, and now it seems so like foreign to me. Like the last, I don't know how many, like last several girls I've dated, we didn't yell at each other, never called each other names. And I can't really think of it at one besides her, 20 years ago, that a girlfriend called me a name, or I called her like a name, like cussing at each other and stuff. It just doesn't happen. See, after her, my son's mom, I thought I would rather be by myself than to have another relationship like that. And well, I didn't know it would take like 10 years, but part of that was, you know, I guess developing myself into somebody that would get something else. And I had a lot of cool girlfriends before that. Like, it wasn't like a lot of name calling. That was like by far the most hostile relationship I was ever in. And I had, like before that, it was like my daughter's mom. And that was pretty cool for the most part. I mean, it didn't end up working out, but we were in high school most of the time. And then like I had some cool girlfriends in high school, and so it's like this, wherever I was that led me to that. And I'm glad my son exists. So sometimes like you gotta like think cosmically and act locally, right? So I wouldn't trade my son for anything. So if it was like dealing with that relationship to like do my part of bringing him into this world, then I'll take that deal. So with yeah, it's interesting stuff, right? What we do, these internal struggles that we have, because it seems like a lot of people are they're like kind of like 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the relationship. And kind of the way I do things is I don't really date a lot, but if I start to see somebody, I'm not thinking of somebody else. So this woman, I know I wasn't interested really in a date number 2, this last one. But if there's someone that I am interested in, I won't do anything to mess it up. So I wouldn't want to like um, try like going out with like one and then another one and then back to the other one and then back and forth while I'm figuring something out. So I'm like, is this worth figuring out? Could there be something here? If so, in. And then if it doesn't work out, okay, cool. That's fine. I think that when people are 1 foot in, 1 foot out, that leads to a lot of problems. And one thing that I see on this dating app is a lot of people these days are more into polyamory. I could not, I definitely do not resonate with that. Whatever people want to do, if they're adults and they're open with what they're doing, then fine. I guess that's the good thing about it, just by admitting that this is how you are. You don't want to be with one person and somebody else like, yeah, I don't either, but here we are, let's do this thing, and fine, whatever. It's not for me. Now I kind of like wonder, is there something, it just seems like to be like something so temporary about it. Something, I don't know, maybe some people make it work, but it seems like it's just, I don't know. Different stuff makes sense to different people. So something else I want to do is I keep talking about it. I hope maybe I'll have time this weekend to figure one out. But I want to start playing guitar and singing on the podcast more. Like right now, I'm recording on Zoom meeting. And when I tried singing and playing guitar on it before, like it didn't sound right. And maybe it was a microphone adjustment thing. I don't know. I want to figure out how to have that good audio quality. And I have a singing lesson scheduled for next week. I want to get better at singing, and I want to play guitar more. And I've been playing for a long time, and um, now I'd wonder, you know, I might do like some live online shows where I play guitar and sing. I was kind of thinking of something like that. I don't like playing when there's noise. So if um, I was playing like at a coffee shop somewhere and I could hear like the coffee grinder or something, it would drive me bonkers. Like I have a window air conditioner in my apartment, a couple of them, but one's in my bedroom, one's out in like the living room, and I can't stand to play with it on, or even just the fan. If I can't stand to even have a fan on if I'm playing. So I don't think that I'd really be good at playing in front of people if they were making any kind of noise. But I want to play more and put my music out there more. That's something that I definitely want to do. I think I'll probably create another Spotify channel, maybe another iTunes channel for my music, and I just got to figure out how to record it nice with what I have, or not too much more equipment. I want to be like kind of like a minimalist. This is what I really sound like, not using auto tune or um, just we'll see how that goes. So what kind of dreams do you have? What are you working on? Are you working on your dreams? Have you settled instead of just keep reaching? I'm going to read here. I think I'll read some Kahlil Gibran. Sorry. I guess I could hit pause or something. But where are we? Let's see. I'm looking for this. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. This is from Sand and Foam, Kahlil Gibran. So the first page that I opened up to. Space is not space between the earth and the sun to one who looks down from the windows of the Milky Way. Space is not space between the earth and the sun to one who looks down from the windows of the Milky Way. What's that mean? Does that mean anything to you? We measure time according to the movement of countless suns, and they measure time by little machines in their little pockets. Now tell me, how could we ever meet at the same place and the same time? I like that. That's what I'm talking about. This date that I went on. What's it? What it feels like when you meet someone, that attraction. It's like the woman I said that I was interested in now, which I have no idea. I don't want to say too much, but there was a point uh, in our conversation. I was like, oh, here we go again. Let's I don't want to say too much. I don't want to give any idea of as to who it is. Oh, like that. You like that? We measure time according to the movement of countless suns, and they measure time by little machines in their little pockets. Now tell me, how could we ever meet at the same place in the same time? Oh man, God, he is so good. There is a space between man's imagination and man's attainment that may only be traversed by his longing. Oh, that's good. That's what I'm talking about, right? And this is random. I mean, I just open it up, but sometimes it just that makes a lot of sense. One more time. There is a space between man's imagination and man's attainment that may only be traversed by his longing. Like so, oh man, that's good. I really like that. I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't know how long I've been going here, but I think I'm gonna leave it at that. I think that sums it up pretty good because that longing, what do you have to do to get what you want? Are you in the current state of what would want you? If you have a thing for this woman, are you what she would want? If it's so complicated, isn't it? Sometimes it'll seem real obvious that oh this could happen. Just you know, give me the sign. There is a space between man's imagination and man's attainment that may only be traversed by his longing. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.